Hi, beautiful people. I'm here to do a pre recording of the live that I had a couple days ago that didn't really go well on YouTube. So I was actually told that it would probably be a good idea to do a pre recording and maybe talk about the things that I had planned to talk about on the YouTube live. And, it was the YouTube streaming wasn't very well, it was not very stable. So I think the best thing to do is to talk about the topics that I plan to talk about in the live. And hopefully, when I get the streaming service that I probably need to use instead of YouTube streaming, then I'll do another live because, I do like doing the lives because I feel like I get more of a personal and an intimate perspective when I do a live, talking to actual, or even if I'm not speaking directly, but in the chat, having live interaction with people. That's what I really enjoy, and I prefer doing that. But for now, I'll just stick to the recording, the pre-recording, and talk about the topics that I had planned to talk about. So, in this actual, the topics are going to be about moving abroad. I'm currently in Georgia, the country. I'm in Batumi, Georgia, which is the coastal city. And it's on the Black Sea. It's beautiful, and but the capital city is Tbilisi, which is just equally amazing. But it's inland, of course, and it doesn't. It's not near the beach, which is I prefer more beach towns. That's more for me, and still be in Europe at the same time. Now, Georgia is Eastern Europe, and it's considered, I guess you would say, is some people say it's not part of the EU, meaning it's not an EU member country, but it's part of Europe. But it's closer to Turkey, Armenia, Greece. Let's see where else. Russia. So it's on the Black Sea, so closer to Asia. That's why a lot of people don't really particularly know it as Europe or know it at all. It's the birthplace of wine. It's where wine was originated. I encourage people to do their research on the country of Georgia and the Caucasus Mountains because it has so much here. It's a country that it has its own currency, which is the lari. So the U.S. dollar goes very far. So it's very affordable, but at the same time, it's a developed country, but it's developing even more. But that's the reason why I like doing lives because I have like questions to answer, and then I have more of a guideline of where to go, what topics to start from. So I may feel like I'm all over the place because it's so much I want to say. There is a lot of Americans, specifically people of color, African Americans, who are having so much issues in the United States with regard to racism, equality, and things of that nature that a lot of countries are not aware of, especially European countries. So they know of America, but it's the America that we've been propagandizing, if that's a word, meaning America, the land of the great. And in so many ways, America is a great country. It could be greater, and it used to be better, but now there's so much division that just kind of I think has been rearing its ugly head in the last 10 years, even more and more and more. And so now there is this discussion that many people, Americans want to try other countries. I decided to move abroad way before all of the division and then, political presidents, which Democrat, Republican. I had been deciding to move abroad for about 10 years now, but I just didn't make that move until 6 years later, till 6 years ago. But it's always been a part of my thought process because I just knew To me, America was pretty toxic, um, personally. And, I haven't had a lot of bad experiences, terrible experiences as American. That's not the point. I have great family. I grew up with means. So it wasn't as if I was struggling. I had a great career. But for me, it was more about more than the quality, although that was rampant. It didn't touch me personally, as much. My thing was about quality of life and safety. America, by any stretch, is not safe comparative to other countries where you don't have to worry about guns or you can walk the streets at night and feel safe. I didn't get that in the U.S. You're always looking over your shoulder for someone that might rob you, or you can live in the best neighborhoods and still blocks away, there's homeless camps everywhere. And just the decline of middle class, the rich and poor is what's happening. It's similar to places that I've been that are not developed, but still have better quality than the US. And these are from my perspective. And there's many people that look like me that are interested. And it's not many people who look like me out here traveling solo. Of course, I have friends in all over Europe and also in the States and family. And I have people here that are like family that is here for me as well. But for the most part, I started this journey solo and it could be done. I've traveled to 33 countries. I lived in about six, maybe seven, I think. And I kind of wanted to talk about those different countries because every country is different, of course. And also, every person has different needs. If you're coming from America, you have family, or you're a certain age, or you're looking to retire, or you might be looking to still work. You're young enough to still have to be able to work. So different countries work for certain people. I use France, for example, Paris. Everybody wants to go to Paris. Paris is amazing. The culture is different. I love using the word amazing, as you could probably tell. But oh well, I can't change it. But anyway, France is great, particularly Paris, I'm familiar with. But it's not for everyone, you know. You have these stereotypes about France or Paris that the people are rude and they're not very friendly. They don't like Americans. That's not true. A lot of Parisians are just, that's their culture. They're not very loud like Americans are. They are very closed. They keep the same circle of friends throughout from the time they're born to they go to college and out of college. So having a circle of friends for many, many, many years is common there. So when you're in Paris trying to make French friends, that's quite difficult, and it comes across as cold. And it's not really cold, it's just more their culture. So, being that Paris is similar to New York City in a way, where you have a melting pot of ethnicities there, which is great. But everybody's moving and shaking and doing their thing, but not as much as New York because quality of life is quite different. When I mean moving and shaking for a Parisian, it's more like they are in their own bubble. They have their own circle of friends. They go to a cafe, they sit and they have their coffee or they have dinner out. They're not always at home, but they're still out and about and they're moving. And they may not be as talkative as an American is, but once you get used to that, you realize that, it's just how it is. And you kind of build your own circle of friends when you're there. It takes a while though. You may build a family of expats that are from all over the world that has moved there. My suggestion is to try to, put yourself into the culture, to, I guess I would say more like blend, try to blend with French culture, learn the language as best as you can, and go outside of just your American or wherever you come from, that bubble, and be a part of French culture. Learn why. Parisians act a certain way and mimic that. Still be yourself, but mimic the way the natives are, and not have these expectations that you have from books and movies and things like that, because it's not always like the movies. You may have some parts that's kind of similar, to the movies you watched about Paris. It is beautiful. It's one of the most stunning countries in all of Europe. It's also one of the most visited countries in all of Europe because of the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe and, the Louvre and all these beautiful places. But with that being said, it's so many other places in France, the south of France, Nice, and Marseille, and all these different places that you can also move to. That's the opposite of Paris when it comes to the seeming non-social. They're a little bit more social in the south of France, but that takes experience. That I encourage people to visit first. Don't just follow the first African American that you saw in a country and think that, oh, if they like it, I'll like it, because everyone's needs are different. You know, um, another example is Portugal. Everyone wants to go to Portugal. They all believe that it's great for people of color, and it is to a certain degree. But it also have its drawbacks if you're used to certain things. It's all the European countries are older, so they're old because they've been around for thousands of years. So factor that in, architecture and also plumbing. You have to think of those type of things, and for me, I need to be somewhere where I'm going to have a little more modernization mixed in with some old world things. And Portugal didn't have a lot of that. It's strictly old world. Italy is the same way. You're not going to find a lot of new structures. And so don't look for new amenities and all these different things. You're going to have to go with the old school. They're smaller buildings. Apartments are smaller, homes are smaller, unless you're living in the countryside where you have land and all those things. But going back to Portugal, it's that people buy homes there, or they move and they live in these apartments, and it's beautiful weather, there's beaches and all these things. But culturally, those buildings are not insulated. So sometimes the weather is better than your home on the inside. So many homes have space heaters you have to have even during the summer because they're not insulated. So your homes are cold. And I found when I was living there, that was a lot of the complaints for the people who had moved there or bought homes. And I was there just for 6 months, 7 months actually, and I was there long enough to realize it wasn't for me because of those factors. It's not. And then when you do get some modern buildings, they're uppriced, and they do that because it's a tourist town, and a lot of times you have these expats or people coming from other countries like the UK and the US and Australia, and they know that that money goes far there because Portugal have low wages. So the economy is not that great, but your dollar or your pound or whatever money from your developed country goes very far. But they will take advantage of that as well. So you have to factor in a lot of those things. Know someone who is either from that country to walk you through to make sure you don't get taken advantage of, and just don't just go winging it on your own, trying to bargain for prices. Make sure that you find someone that's a native that can help you, wiggle through some of those, things like what you want and what you need, and not be taken advantage of. And so there's some countries that do that. Portugal is one of them. It's a great country, like I said, and it fits for some people, families and whatnot. And it's for me, it was a little boring because, of course, amazing weather. But I'm from California. I'm used to that kind of weather, so it wasn't nothing new for me. It wasn't that exciting to have the same weather over and over again. Type of weather. But a lot of people from cold countries or states They love that. It's their first time being somewhere where the climate is the same all the time. The winters in Portugal can get a little colder, but compared to living in, Chicago where it's freezing, or Scandinavian countries, or where it gets super cold, yeah, it's nothing. So it depends on what you want and what you need. If you're looking for a lot of things to do, culturally, there's that, but it's more geared toward families, people who want to retire and relax because it's not a whole lot to do. And I'm talking the cities that I lived in, which is Lisbon and Porto. I did prefer Porto a little bit better because it did seem to have a little bit more to do. But I found myself after 6, 7 months of being there, being quite bored. But that's just me. Then there's places like, I would say that people don't think about Budapest, and which is Hungary, and it's very affordable country, but beautiful, stunning. And it offers so much. There's a lot of expats there. There's a lot of digital nomads there because being that it's affordable, which is great. You have, apartments that are renovated, looking very nice, that you don't have to worry about them being old. And they may be old on the outside, but there's a lot of renovations being done to a lot of these old apartments and homes. And there's a lot to do. Budapest has two sides. On the sides of I think it's just Tiber River. I could be wrong, but you can look that up. But so they have one side that's is separated, by the river. So you have Buda one side, and Pest is the other side. Pest is the side that has all the things happening, nice restaurants, clubs, bars, or whatever. They have this amazing row of ruin bars over on that side. That's very exciting, very different. You don't find anything like that in the States. It's just so different and so incredible. And then you have the art, the architecture, the museums, the history of Budapest, and little cafes all over the place that you can just sit and work or eat or whatever. And you don't have to worry about not finding an outlet for your laptop or whatever. The Wi Fi is strong. And this is the same, I would say the same for Prague, in the Czech Republic. It's near. Is I love these countries because they're also central to other countries like France. They're central to Vienna, Austria. There's Brussels. Belgium. Brussels is the capital, and so they're near within an hour or two. Even by car. So and those countries are just as amazing. And then Croatia, there's Croatia. I always called Croatia like my second home because I spent a lot of time there. I was there for the first lockdown during, of course, the pandemic. So I was there in 2020, the most of the year, and it just made me realize how much I loved it even more. Also, an affordable country, has its own currency. The U.S. dollar goes far. They have beautiful apartments that are renovated. Also, you don't have to worry about finding a place to work remotely. Go sit in a cafe or a restaurant or even a park, and there's Wi-Fi on the outside, even in the square. So a lot of European countries are like that, strong Wi-Fi at that. I didn't have a problem with finding a nice apartment, nice Airbnb, that was renovated also. So I love that factor, that it was that fact that things were you still I was surrounded by old world things, but at the same time you had your modern area too, and the apartments were very comfortable and but very charming and different in some of them. So and it was a lot to do and a lot to see in the country of Croatia. You have Zagreb, the capital, which is where I stayed most of the time. But I also was in Split, which is on the coastal city. Zadar, Dubrovnik, Plitvice Lakes, which is beautiful waterfalls all over the place, and just so much to see in Croatia and do. You would never get bored there. That's another place. They have a digital nomad visa that is available now. That's pretty easy. Let's see where else. And then there's places like Macedonia, North Macedonia, which is kind of, one of those countries that no one had thought about, but that's a growing country, great for families. It's more, I would say, I wouldn't recommend that to Americans who want to see more culture, want to see more ethnicities. They're friendly, very friendly people there, but it's not that multicultural yet. It's not meaning just people of color like African Americans or whatever. I mean in general, just people from all over Europe. It's mostly North Macedonians, But yeah, so if you're looking to be surrounded by a lot of different, um, ethnicities, they're not there yet. But if you don't have a problem with that, it's a great place because it's affordable. It's interesting. I loved it. But yeah, so you have so many choices. And that's why I wish this was live. I can do it live because I can get asked questions because I'm thinking of so many. I know of so many different countries that are perfect for making your move out of the U.S. But I'm drawing a blank right now. But I'll just stick to what I want to just encourage, specifically Americans, and to not feel fear and think that it's the same thing would happen you would experience in the US, you're going to experience in Europe. And the reason why I'm mentioning Europe specifically is because these are the countries that I've lived in. I haven't lived in any of the Asian countries, so I don't have any knowledge or any information on living there. But I do know that it's safe and clean, and a lot of expats are choosing Asian countries like Thailand and Taiwan, South Korea, Vietnam. I have many American friends that I met traveling that are living in these countries and loving it. So, but I'm specifically focusing on European countries because that's my thing. That's where I feel most comfortable. So I encourage a lot of Americans to get rid of the fear because it's a different culture. It's not the same culture. They don't have the same context of what we experience in America. Uh, as Black Americans, they don't have that context. They just see us we're Americans, which it should be like that. You travel, and it shouldn't be about what color you are. It should be about you're an American, or you're French, or you're German, not the color of your skin. So I don't find that I have that problem here in Europe. And I talk to many of my like-minded people who are like me out here living and doing it. They feel the same way. It's you just, I mean, nowhere's perfect. Of course, you're gonna have your issues as an American. You're gonna have your issues because you're not at home. The food's different. If you're not an open-minded person and you're looking to have the same culture as home, it's not this ain't the place for you. You have to be able to feel and integrate yourself to wherever you are. And there's English that's widely spoken all throughout these countries, but don't rest your laurels on it. Learn the language. At least try to do your best with learn basic, the basics of that language because that shows respect. And a lot of Americans, want to come, and I'm American, so I'm specifically drawing from this experience. So a lot of Americans come abroad and they forget just because we are known, our music and movies, and everyone's familiar with it, that you can come here and bring your culture here and expect to get what you want when you want it. And that's disrespectful. And so humbling yourself when you're in another country is my advice. Come, soak up the culture, ask questions, smile, and take the good with the bad, and see what fits you. And if it doesn't fit you, keep it pushing. That that's what I do. I find a country that may not be a fit for me, and I don't badmouth it because it's for someone else, and maybe it is for someone else, obviously. But you got to know what you like, what your wants are, and what your needs are, and not come with this privilege of America. that, they're going to, cater to our culture, which they already do to a certain degree, meaning the music, the movies, and all that is here. They know our culture very well. So you don't need to, push it and push it. Learn something new. That's the best thing about traveling and moving abroad, growing from, getting enriched from seeing your country from another point of view. That's the best thing. For me, I've learned, instead of having, what was put into my head about what we stand for and what we're about, when I moved abroad, I found out what others think, and what the truth really is, if you know what I mean. So, with that being said, I'm going to end this, conversation, and just preface it with, I will have another live. It will be done on, StreamYard or some other streaming service. That way I can have stability, and then not make the mistake I made just recently, which is the time zones, and try to be more accurate with. I didn't know my demographics, meaning who was watching from where. If I have an audience mostly from the US or from Europe or from, South America, I just don't know. So I will try to factor in and, put in the description, the time zones for each countries or continent, and try to be more accurate with that, because that was the problem I had too. Trying to figure out what time zone was what, and who's watching from where and how many. So I'll be on more on point with that, and, and have more focus on, making sure all the streaming, and because I'm in Georgia, and even though I lived in Tbilisi in the summer, this is my first time in Batumi on the coast, so I didn't know what the Wi-Fi was like. I didn't know if it was just, it was going to be strong enough to do streaming or videos and things like that. I found out it is, and it's not, the Wi-Fi that was the problem. It was actually, a lot of people complain about YouTube streaming, and that is sometimes not so stable. So, but I don't want to eliminate the lives. I think they're fun, and I think people get more. And then watching the playback, you can even get even more information, or you can have time to come back later and watch. So that's why I will do another live. It will, probably be within the next 2 weeks. That way I can, organize my live a little bit better. So thank you for listening, and I hope you would, join in for my live when it is, planned. And, I apologize for the original live that happened a couple days ago that didn't go so well. So hopefully you'll have patience with me and join in for the next one. Okay. All right. See you. Bye.